Hello everyone out there, this is You'll Be Blessed, and today I'm going to share with you a classroom practice that I've implemented beginning last year. It is a creative way to encourage your students. So if you are interested in learning how to build a better rapport with your students, boosting their confidence, their morale, and encouraging them, then this is something that you need to watch and share with others, all right? So how do I create an opportunity to actually encourage my students? See, that's the thing. It's about creating opportunity even when because many times, we're busy teachers and we might miss moments to encourage our students. So it's our job to actually create those moments strategically. So beginning last year, our school normally gives final exams and midterms. But during the final exam, I said, you know what, this year I want to write letters to my students and encourage them before they take their exam. And in a nutshell, I told them that, I value who they are. This test does not define who you are. And some of you might do well, some of you may not, but that's okay because, I know you got what you needed out of my classroom and you're going to move on and do great things if I never have to teach you again. And so I write this letter, and the way we conduct midterms at my school is that all the students take the exam at the same time and they're proctored by another teacher other than myself. So I have to prepare their examinations and their letters prior to the date of the examination. So I issue out the exams and the letters, the teachers give them out for me, and the students are actually instructed to read the letters before they start the exam. And when I did that for the first time last year, as I began to make my rounds to each classroom to check to see if my students just needed questions, all right? And I walked into one of my classes and everybody stopped their exam and they just started applauding. And I was just like, whoa, what is this? This is not the response I was expecting, and my students were just genuinely grateful that I took the time to even write a letter like that and do that prior to giving them a final examination. And because I got such a positive result, I said, I am going to try to do this again. I'm going to try to make it a classroom practice. I'm going to make it a part of who I am as a demonstration of how much I love my students and how much I enjoy teaching them. And so therefore, my next plan was to write a welcome letter to my next set of 10th grade students for chemistry. All right? So I did that. Instead of writing a welcome letter for parents, which is what we normally do, is what we're normally taught by the world system, all right, or by our school district, whoever is our bosses, write a welcome letter for the parents. But the truth is the parents are actually just the supporters. They are not the number one buyers. They are not the number one clients. They don't have to buy into the chemistry content. My students have to buy into the chemistry content. And the only way they're going to buy into that content is if they buy into me first. So it's actually kind of pointless to win the parent before you win the student. So I wrote a letter to the student, and in the letter I did say, if you're really excited about what we're going to be doing in this class, then you're going to want to share this letter with your parents. And I want you to share whatever you do in my class with your parents. But this welcome letter was designed to disarm the student, disarm their fears about being in the 10th grade, disarm their fears about being in my chemistry class. And as a result, I had a parent read my letter, and by the end of the first week of school, the parent had taken my letter, took a picture of it, and then circulated it throughout the entire home and school organization and made a Facebook post about it and tagged me in it. And I was just so humbled because the parents thought very highly of me to be able to take the time and write something so thoughtful to welcome their student into my class and to assure them that I'm going to the only thing that I'm allowed to do is actually lead them into success. All right. So, I've already mentioned that I've written 2 letters. I'm actually going to share links to those letters, samples of those letters in the comment section below. So make sure you like this video and download those files so that you can actually see what it is that I actually tell my students at the beginning of the year, or how I actually create these opportunities to encourage them. All right, so the most recent experience that I had in encouraging my students with letter writing, okay, was we just gave midterms last week. All right, so midterms work very similar to the finals, but this year I said I'm going to take a different approach. This time I'm going to look at my students and try to categorize them, classify them, and put them in categories to where I can write multiple letters. So this year I wrote 3 letters, and every time I do this, I improve what I did before. So I wrote 3 different versions of a letter, and I gave my students a letter based on where I thought they needed to be met. All right, it's halfway through the year. They still have a half a year to go, a long way to go, and a lot more chemistry content to understand. So I wanted to find a way to either motivate them, address a need or a lack that they have, or either keep pushing them. All right, and so that's what these letters were meant to accomplish. All right, for the final exam is to reiterate that, I care about you before this exam, but I want you to be motivated to take my exam. I want you to be motivated to do your best, even if you don't feel like you're a pro in my classroom. All right. So, all right. I'm going to open up my most recent letter. Okay. Now, when I formatted it this year, I have the student's name on the outside. I put some little designs on it. Now, I actually decided to put my logo on it, and my students just thought that was so cool. They said it looked like the Timberland logo. I said, you know what? That's actually what I originally wanted my logo to look like, because I have been thinking about designing a You'll Be Blessed logo like 2 years ago. But somebody actually designed this logo, and my kids actually said it really looks like Timberland. So I'm actually happy that they like it. It's appealing to my students. It obviously sends a message to them. All right. So, find out what matters to your students. Apparently, Timberlands matter to them. All right. Anyway, it says, do not open until instructed. Open before the examination. And when you open it up, okay, there's a lot in here. I put a lot in this letter to let students know that I really took the time to write something thoughtful and meaningful to them. All right. But every letter actually starts and ends the same. But the difference is what's written in this middle box. All right. And so that's where I customize the message based on how I categorize the students. And as a result, students started to feel like, Mr. Phillips is paying attention specifically to me. While not everybody feels that way, I reached the ones that I was supposed to reach. And I think that's our job as teachers, is to reach as many as we can, hoping that we touch the lives that are in front of us in a meaningful way. All right. And so, again, I'll share this in the comment section below. And so here's the fruit that I got this year. First of all, I had teachers telling me, that's such a great idea. It's so cute that you got to keep doing that. And then, because some of them actually noticed that the writing in the letters were actually different. And so they really appreciated the fact that, somebody actually takes the time to really think and be pensive and intentional about how you motivate your students. All right. And then my student response this year was not necessarily exactly the same as it was the first time I did it for the finals, but I started to get more individualistic responses. I had students coming up to me after the exam saying, Mr. Phillips, I thank you so much for your letter. It really just brightened up my day. I had another student who said, she said, Mr. Phillips, I wish every time we took an exam, we would get a letter like this from you. And I said, you know what? That's my hope one day, that I would be creative enough and have the time and concentration available to even do that. Because I think it's my obligation to create a moment of encouragement for you as often as I can, for my students at least. All right. And so that's the plan. I came up with 3 different letters this time. Next time, I want to give an exam or a midterm or final exam, or I think there's a significant event where my students need to be encouraged, I'm actually going to write more than 3 letters. And pretty soon, one day, I'm going to have a repertoire of letters. And you can do this same thing if you just take the time and be intentional. And before you know it, you'll have 20 letters, 30 letters, 40, 50 letters that you can customize for your students, that you can give to your students and encourage them. And now, you may not even be giving the same letter to every student now. So I think that's fantastic. It's almost like creating your own fortune cookies for your students, but better, much better. Because, fortune cookies are really random, but there's nothing intentional behind it. And I think the goal in this is encouraging your students is actually being intentional about connecting with them, especially if you're a teacher who's really busy and you got students who are really, really quiet, but they're not vocal in the classroom and you don't even get to talk to them a lot of times. So it's a great way to even show students that, hey, I may not talk to you every day. I may not even get to you every day. You think you're unnoticed, but I see you and I appreciate you in my classroom. And I'm still giving you the attention that you deserve because you're deserving of the best of who I am. And if I can give you a letter that's meaningful to you, then I've given you a piece of my best. All right. And so if you really like this idea, like the video. If you really love this idea, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you really want to implement this practice in your classroom, download some of the samples and see what it is that I'm saying to my students, and feel free to use it yourself. But at the end of the day, this is a creative way to express your interest into your students and to encourage them. Therefore, ultimately, you have to be the one to produce these letters. I can write 50 letters and you can use them, but they may not have the same impact that they have on your students as they do on mine. Only you know your students the best, better than me. I know my students better than you know my students. So it's best that you take the time to do this yourself, okay? And finally, this is going to I really believe this practice is going to transform how people see my classroom, how students see my classroom, how students will begin to leave the classroom and go into their next class. So I really believe attitudes and hearts are going to be changed and softened and easily molded because they've been conditioned to not just be my student, but to be my kids. My student, not just my students, but my children. They may not be blood children, because I do have a newborn daughter. She's like 13. No, she's 14 weeks now. But the point is, I want to make the kids feel like they're part of a family. They've been adopted and grafted into a family when they come into my classroom. And so, this takes time. You're not going to see this explosive result from everybody, but you are going to see something. And it's going to bless you. It's going to bless the student. It's going to bless the parents. It's going to bless the families of that student. It's going to bless the teachers in your school. It's going to begin to transform the very world that you live in. So this is You'll Be Blessed. And if you were blessed today, please do everything that I asked you to do. Share, like, but most of all, do this. If this is really something that you have on your heart or you can do, actually do this for your students. You'll be blessed. Have a great day. I'm out.